'Tis the season for baseball rumors. And one of those is that the Cubs would be the perfect match for Michael Wacha of the Padres. And I loved reading it on the Sports Illustrated Cubs fan site. And I'm going to talk about that on this video right now because I would love to see Michael Wacha with the Cubs. They could certainly use a dominant starting pitcher. You just wonder if it's realistic. But guys, before we get into the Cubs and their pitching staff and what Michael Wacha might bring to the table, if you're not part of what we're doing here at the Cubs Baseball channel, it's easy to do. We want you to sign with us. It's free. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and hit the bell so you know when we're live. And I want to remind you that our channel right now is presented by the Tennessee Smokies. That's the Cubs AA affiliate. The Smokies won the Southern League Championship for the first time since 1978. They've got the gear to prove it. Cubs fans love their gear. You guys love your gear. And so what I want you to do is check out the Smokies site, smokiesbaseball.com/store to find out for yourself. All right, so inside the Cubs, I love reading it. The Fan Nation site is saying, Michael Wacha would be the perfect place, and he's predicted to land there if he goes into free agency. So what are the chances that Michael Wacha ends up being the perfect Cub, the former Cardinal and, other teams player, but a good pitcher? Could he show up to Wrigley Field? And I don't know. I mean, look at these numbers right now. I mean, if you're the Padres, you'd be fools not to sign this guy. He's got two options, and we'll talk about that in a second. But last year, 24 starts, 14-4 record, and a 3.22 ERA, and the guy threw 134 in the third innings. Now, 134 in the third innings, it's good. It's not great. It's good, but 24 starts and a 14-4 record will get you there. And so here's the problem. The Padres have options on the next two seasons, $16 million for both, and they must be exercised at the same time, right? So basically that means you either get one or you either get two or you get none. And if they decline it, then Wacha has a player option that would be 3 years at $6 million per season, and he'd be a fool to take that kind of money because he'll make that in 1 year as a free agent. So I can't imagine a scenario where Michael Wacha is not signed by the Padres. And I know they want to dump payroll. We've talked about Juan Soto. Obviously Josh Hader is going to be a free agent. There's a lot of guys. Blake Snell, who's not going to be there anymore. They had an all-star team and they sucked. And that's the funny thing about baseball is that it doesn't necessarily matter how good the names are on the team. It's how the team meshes, the chemistry, the drive, the leadership, how they play together as a cohesive unit, right? And the Padres weren't able to do that. Not saying that you can't take the pieces and add it to what you have and turn something into it. So the Cubs got to figure out the starting pitching. I mean, we know that, right? Justin Steele, is he going to come back and have the success that he had last year? I certainly hope so, right? He was a Cy Young candidate for most of the season and then kind of faded down the stretch. Jamison Taillon, to me, $17 million and a big disappointment. I'd much rather have Michael Wacha for that money than Jamison Taillon. I know he did pitch well towards the end of the season, but too inconsistent. He's getting paid to be an ace on the team, and he's just not an ace. He's to me a fourth or fifth guy in the rotation, someone that you never really know what to expect. And he also gets hurt a lot. So not a big fan of not him as a person, but obviously him as a pitcher in the rotation. Kyle Hendricks, throwing mid-80s, still getting guys out. He's a back end of the rotation guy. You don't put him in the front, but he brings a lot to the table, but he's also a guy that's got a $16.5 million option. Would you rather have Hendricks or would you rather have Michael Wacha? I think you'd rather have Michael Wacha, but I'd like to have both guys, right? I've told you guys this on the channel. I really want Hendricks to stay on the team. Maybe part of that is nostalgia, but the other part of it too is that he is consistent. I mean, you know what you're going to get from him from start to start. It's not like Tyon where, he's given up 5 runs in the first and then pitches 3 shutout innings. And then, you just don't know from start to start what you're getting. Kyle's pretty consistent. You're going to get a quality start. Is he dominant? No, but if he can pick up a little more velocity, maybe as he heals from the shoulder issue that he had, he could get back there again. And the fact that he knows how to pitch, set up hitters, and he's smart gives you confidence, because you've seen guys like that over the years that have had long, long careers after they threw really hard, like Jamie Moyer, former Cub. He was a lefty, threw forever, and, the fact that he just knew how to get out. So you got him in the rotation. Marcus Stroman. I just can't see a scenario where Marcus Stroman doesn't exercise his option. He was an all-star in the first half, and I don't know what happened with him in the second half. In my entire life of baseball, I've never heard of someone having cracked rib cartilage. So what does that tell you? Obviously it tells you that that's a really weird injury. And without him being the guy that the Cubs expected to have in the second half, he's the difference in 2 games that you needed to make the playoffs, right? But he's not going to get the money that he's going to get from any other team besides the Cubs. So expect him to be back in that Cubs uniform. And then after that, what are we looking at for the rotation? Javier Assad, it doesn't seem like they take him seriously. They put him in the rotation, then they take him out. All he does is get outs and pitch well, but he's not overpowering. And his entire tenure with the Cubs, it seems like he's always got to prove someone wrong. So we'll see. Bullpen starter, question mark. Jordan Wicks came up at the end of the season, left-hander. He did really well. Is he going to be able to continue that through the entire season? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see it. Big fan of what he brings to the table. Got a great changeup, but the league is going to definitely know what he's doing next year. He's going to have to adjust to that. Then you got the minor league guys. It starts with me, Cade Horton, Double-A last year. When's he going to be ready to be a starter? The Cubs did an awesome job of picking this guy out of college at Oklahoma. He's front-end material. He's got a killer slider. He attacks with the fastball, but what's that going to look like in the big leagues? When you only made 8 starts in Double-A, which tells me most likely he's going to start the season in Double-A, then go to Triple-A, see what happens there. Then maybe he gets to the big leagues. Ben Brown, that's the guy that they traded last year from the Phillies for David Robertson, the closer at the deadline. It brings in great stuff. He got hurt. We didn't see him in the big leagues, and he was pitching out of the bullpen at the end of the year. Hopefully he goes back in the starting rotation, and he's someone that you can count on. Those 2 guys would be at the top of the list to me as far as starting options with Jordan Wicks in there. But we'll find out, what does this look like for the Cubs moving forward? Who can they rely on to help the starting rotation? Adding a Michael Wacha would be a really big thing for this team, because you could use as much starting pitching as possible. And then you can kind of do what the Cubs did with Javier Assad, is they started him in the bullpen and then, kind of slotted him into the starting rotation when they needed him, and he did a good job. It wasn't like they just threw him into the fire and kept him in there. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that now that the World Series is over, and congratulations to Bruce Bochy and the Texas Rangers, a franchise that had never won a World Series before. And then you look around the league and you go, okay, who's left? The Padres, they haven't won one. The Mariners, they haven't won one. It's pretty funny like that it's only a handful of teams that haven't won a World Series yet. The Colorado Rockies haven't won one yet, So the Rangers getting off the schneid, they were the team that had been in baseball the longest without winning a World Series from their inception, right? And so it was an exciting World Series. But when they went out and got Bruce Bochy, they decided that they wanted to be serious. He came in and was like, we're gonna win. And he knew the formula. This is a guy that spent his life in baseball. I saw a championship ring from a buddy of mine that was the broadcaster on a Padres minor league team when Bochy was their manager. And then he went up to the big leagues and was a pitching coach. And then eventually he took the Padres to the World Series and lost. Then he took the Giants to the World Series and won 3. And then he took the Rangers to the World Series and won 1. So he's got 4 World Series. He's been there with 3 different teams. That's elite company. But it also goes to prove that managing baseball is one of those things that takes time and, trial and error. And I think we've talked about that a lot on this channel as well. You're just not going to jump in from ESPN or Dancing with the Stars and figure all this stuff out. On the other hand, though, what you really hope the Cubs do is that they continue to add good, smart coaches that have been around the game for a long time to add intel and assistance to the guys that don't have a lot of experience, even though they might have played for a long time. Playing and managing, 2 very different things. All right, guys, tell me what you think. I want to hear what your opinions are, starting rotation, where the Cubs are going to go. What are the other options out there? Are they going to go to Japan and sign a guy? Is there some trades that they could possibly make? They got a very good farm system. So, maybe you give up some top-end talent to get some pitching. I don't think that anyone would be opposed to having someone in the starting rotation that could go out there and get the job done to add to what they already have. But what do you give up? Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're not on our roster yet, do it. It is so easy. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Go Cubs, everybody. Hit the bell so you know when we're dropping content.